Hi, I'm Miriam Joy and welcome to my studio. Today we're doing another tips and techniques video. These are just fun little videos to help you with little projects, whether they be craft or any different items. Some of you have asked for Valentine's ones, so this is kind of a Valentine ornament that we're trying to help you with and show you how to do today. I am going to be using a coyote gourd, and what I did is I took my coyote gourd and I base coated it with a metallic red. This is actually metallic bright red, and it takes a couple of coats and then it is ready to go. This is a bead cap, and what it is you'd put your bead in the middle and it would cover it. You can pick these up at any of the Hobby Lobby, Michael's, any of the hobby stores. And then what I do to make the hanger is I take cording, and because I'm working with QuikAluminum today, I took kind of a silver or a gray cording and I cut it in half, and then I just simply tie it. Now, if these were regular coyote gourds, I just hot glue gun them on, but these are heavier. So on these, and see, I just slipped it through right like that. I just trim my tails off. I would put E6000 on here, and then I put it on the very top of your gourd, and then I would let that dry, because these have quite a bit more weight because they do have the QuikAluminum on it. We are going to E6000 it today. Now, we are working today with the QuikAluminum. You could also do this with the Quick Copper and it would be just as pretty. One of the things that you need to know about this is it dries in 5 to 7 minutes, so it dries real quick, but that works really, really well with our molds. And today we're going to be using a Wilton fondant and gum paste mold. This one is probably one of my favorites. It's got the rose, it's got swirls, it's got different leaves and stuff like that in them. It's also got the pearl beading in it as well. So let's get started on that. So I'm going to take the mold. First thing we always do when we're working with any of the QuikWood products is remove your jewelry, because it does get attached to your jewelry, so we always want to make sure that we do that. And then we always use our vegetable spray, and we also put it into our molds as well so that it does not stick. Now we're going to take our QuikAluminum, and I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to cut it. I'm going to wipe my hands because I still have the vegetable oil on it. Now the rose, I'm going to talk to you about the beads too, but I'm going to cut a bigger chunk off because this is a bigger mold. You can take your hobby knife and take these molds and cut them separately, and it actually will work better for you, and you can press them onto the mold and pull them off. I don't do that because I travel so much and I don't want, I think I figured out there was 14 molds in this, so I want to keep them all together. I removed the plastic around my QuikAluminum, and we're kneading it together, and when we knead it together it activates it. Now if I was doing the beading, and I'm not going to just because it takes a time factor to dry, I would take my gourd and kind of roll it and figure out halfway point where that would go. And if you had this cut, you could probably do it more to the shape of your gourd than trying to pull it out. And then, but if you have to pull it out, just kind of push it back together as you're working with it. Let me try and show that to you. Now, we would take the aluminum, and you don't want to overfill it, but you want it full enough. Now remember, my mold isn't cut to roll it, so I'm going to have to take mine out. I lightly pull mine out. Now see these layers right here? That's because I had lines when I pushed it into the mold. You want to get those lines removed as much as possible. And see, we would just put that on, and that's all the way to the bottom, and just push that onto your gourd to dry. But we're not, like I said, I'm not going to leave it on this one because of the drying purposes. And then just do it on the other side as well. And then you have that purling that kind of divides that gourd into half. Now, this is those cracks that you saw in that. You want to get them away from it. And one of the best ways to get away from that is by rolling it into a ball. And I think I'm going to have to go back and get a lot more here of this rose mold. It takes a lot of this. It's a lot bigger than the others. And on the other side of this gourd, I just have some little swirls and stuff, so I don't know if that's even going to be enough. We'll try it here. Now when you have two pieces like this, always work them in together. If you have a leftover piece and it hasn't dried out, you can come back and work it into your next piece. But the nice thing about small molds like this is if you had some leftover from this, you've got smaller pieces that you could put in there and let them dry and use them for a future project, and you're not wasting any of it. Now, like I said, if I had this cut, I would probably try to roll this onto the gourd, and it will kind of come there. It's going to work for me. See how that just goes onto the gourd like that? And like I said, it's easier when it's just that mold and not the whole thing, but that went on for us. So we've got that on there. And I do like rolling them on like that. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to give this rose some color. I'm going to do that with shimmer powder or embossing powder. And I'm using pink because I wanted it to be a little bit different than our other one there. And we kind of want to have some highlights and some lowlights. Now around here you'd want more color because that's tighter rose part. Trying to leave some of the silver through, showing through. Okay, so we've got that part. And you can see how heavy that is because that's pulling that gourd down instead of... I am also going to add a little bit of pearl, which is a white color, onto this. I think this would be kind of set it off too, especially because we're working with the silver. And you want to make sure that you do this while your QuikAluminum is still wet. That's what keeps it to sticking. But see how that just adds a shimmer to it? I think that's really, really cool. The pearl and the silvers work really good with the QuikAluminum. Okay, so we've got that. Now let's go back and let's do some leaves. The one really fun thing about this mold is all of the swirls and the leaves have one direction and one the other direction. So you have a matching pair every time. Remember to take this plastic off. Don't leave it on and get your mold done and realize that it's still there. Knead it together. Don't forget to knead it. I've had people, and that's what activates it, because it's epoxy in 2 parts. If you haven't watched my QuikWood video, please do that. There's a lot of information on there that I don't cover in these. It's about, I think, 30 or 40 minutes long. Now see, that is too much, and because you don't want it sticking over. Now if I had this cut in this just mold by itself, I could roll this on easier, but I think I'm going to try and lift it up because I think it'll be hard to see where I want it in place. Now I'm going to try, because I'm not going to do my other piece, I'm going to try and save this. And sometimes if you have your just put it in there so it's nice and tight and it keeps the air out of it. It'll last just a little bit longer. If you don't have time, put it in one of these other ones like we talked about and just leave it, and you'll have a nice design to add to something later. Now we're just adding leaves to that. And we're going to put some green in them. I think that embossing powder or shimmer powder, oops, I'm going to throw things at you here. Got to pick up my brush. Let's see, just pick the stuff off from the table instead of wasting it. Okay, now that we've got the green on, I'm going to come back in. I'm going to add a little bit of pearl highlights to this as well. Alright, now let's go do our opposite leaf. So we did this one, so we'll be working with this one. So I'm going to cut a little bit less of this. And I'm going to remember to pick up my other little part in my paper, and we're going to blend this all in together. Now remember, only do that if that's not real hard, hasn't dried, and if you're going to be a while, make your other little molds instead. Okay, now roll those lines out so you don't get any of those lines in your mold. Perfect amount. And remember, always push in from the sides so you don't have any hanging out the sides. And like I talked about, I'm not going to roll this onto the gourd because I've got too big of a piece, but if you have yours cut out into smaller ones, you can. I'm just going to set that right on there again, just opposite of the other one. We're going to come back in here, and I'm going to try not to throw the green everywhere this time. Put that back on the side. Alright, and then I'm going to come back in here, and I'm going to do just a little bit of the pearl. Just to add the highlights here and there. Okay, so we've got that all done, and we have that wonderful rose look of the gourd. The back part of this one I did exactly basically the same way. I used the heart here, and I used the swirl, and then I used the opposite swirl. And then I did a bigger one and just filled in here and there. I did put a little bit of pearl on top of it. And then you want to make sure when you're all done to hold your embossing powder or your shimmer powder in place that you want to varnish it all nice and neat so that it doesn't escape. And you always want to do that over your paint of your gourd anyway to protect it. So if you have any questions about anything we did today, please email me at art@miriamjoy.com. For any of the QuikWood, QuikAluminum, or QuikCopper products, please visit my website at miriamjoy.com. There's also a link on there to all of the YouTube videos, and we try and get new ones of those going up for you all the time. And also on Facebook at Miriam Joy Gourd Creations, where we try to post new gourd for you daily. So thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you had a great time. God bless.